An aircraft that made the United Kingdom fight World War II with everything that it had. Made with many difficulties, but the end result was worth every penny. An aircraft that was feared by German troops. This is the story of the Supermarine Spitfire. The British Royal Air Force unveiled the Supermarine Spitfire just in time for the struggle against the Nazis at World War II approached. They represent the British spirit of never giving up. During the Battle of Britain, Spitfire squadrons engaged the battle-proven German Bf-109 and Fw-190 high in the skies over London. The Spitfire was better at maneuvering during dogfights because of its small elliptical wings, which helped the aircraft to deceive the Germans and tally up remarkable kills. In the frantic struggle to protect the populace from bomber assaults, the Germans believed that the conflict would be done in a matter of days, but they drastically overestimated what would eventually be referred to as the world's most illustrious fighter. The F-730 specification, published by the British Air Ministry in 1931, called for a cutting-edge fighter aircraft with a top flight speed of roughly 250 miles per hour, the ability to carry 4 machine guns, and other specifications. The Supermarine Type 224 was created as a result of their intention to create an aircraft that exceeded the F-730's design requirements. This large, gull-wing open cockpit monoplane will eventually serve as the prototype for the fabled Spitfire. It made its initial flight in February of 1934 and performed poorly due to its 600 horsepower Rolls-Royce Goshawk engine. They were attempting to create something that could combine fighter-like attributes with those of a racing plane. The team quickly delivered the Type 300 prototype to the Air Ministry, but it was again rejected and lost the competition to the Gloucester Gladiator. The prototype, which this time had thinner wings, a closed cockpit, oxygen breathing apparatus, and a potent Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, impressed the Air Ministry. In addition, the Aviation Ministry gave Supermarine a contract and funding in late December of 1934 to develop the aircraft to a new specification known now as the F-1035. Type 300 was examined by Mitchell and his team using 2 different arrangements. On March 10th of 1936, Captain Joseph Mutt Summers piloted the updated prototype known simply as the K5054. The incident served as the catalyst for a tale that endures today. Consequently, a number of adjustments were performed to perfect it. The K5054 had a typical cambered tail fin and narrow track landing gear, which transferred the weight of the aircraft through the fuselage and onto the fully retractable landing gear legs. After recognizing the design's merits, the Air Ministry decided to construct over 310 aircrafts right away. Type 300 was renamed the Supermarine Spitfire after that. In June of 1936, the Spitfire flew once more during an air display at the Royal Air Force Base Hendon Aerodrome. Even though it was anticipated that full-scale production would begin right away, a number of issues stood in the way. For starters, Mitchell's health had been gradually declining. He received a cancer diagnosis in 1933, and the disease had already started to take its toll. Even so, he made every effort to maintain his attention on the Spitfire design up until his death on June 11th, 1937. One of his pals, Joe Smith, was in charge of creating and enhancing the design. Midway through 1938, the first Spitfires began to arrive, but not as quickly as the Air Ministry had anticipated. As the UK prepared for war and Adolf Hitler sought to restore the German Empire, tensions throughout Europe were mounting. Supermarine's Woolston facility was still operating at a maximum capacity and was not willing to share its blueprints with outside producers. The Spitfire Mark 1A or Mark 1 and Mark 1B were included in the initial production batch and made their first flight on May 14th of 1938. When British pilots raided German cities, they were shot down with extreme precision, and they had to learn this the hard way. The Mark 1C and Mark 1E variants, which varied in the caliber of the machine guns they utilized as weaponry, were introduced by Supermarine as World War II drew near. Then, the Germany's invasion of Poland, Britain, and France finally declared war on Germany. 9 Spitfire squadrons of the Royal Air Force were prepared to go to war to protect their country. On October 16, 1939, a German Hinkel HE-111 bomber was shot down over British territory, becoming the first victim of the Spitfire. Following France's surrender in June of 1940, Winston Churchill rejected Hitler's offer of a negotiated settlement within the UK, starting what he called the Battle of Britain. The Luftwaffe continuously bombarded British soil starting on July 10th. However, because RAF Spitfires to the United Kingdom lived to fight another day. The mighty German Messerschmitt Bf-109s, an aircraft of an extraordinary speed and firepower, were pitted against the 19 Spitfire squadrons that the RAF could muster. But because of its distinctive form, the Spitfire Mark I's narrow elliptical wings gave it an advantage when it came to rolling and dogfighting. while the Mark 1A and Mark 1B variants engaged in a fierce combat over the British Isles before being gradually superseded by the Mark II in September of 1940. Two 20mm cannons and four 7.7mm machine guns were included in this model, which also featured an improved Merlin engine. The Walton plant was damaged during the Southampton Blitz, which targeted the Portsmouth and Southampton dockyards between September 24th and 26th, and manufacturing the Mark II was subsequently halted. By the time the Battle of Britain came to a close on October 31st, the Spitfire had not only established itself as a crucial tool in the impending German air operations, but also as a symbol of the British fighting spirit and its citizens' determination to fight to the last end. The introduction of more potent German aircraft such as the Messerschmitt Bf 109 and Focke-Wulf 190, which were likewise updated as the war went on, was closely tied to the development of the superior Spitfire derivatives. The efficiency of the aircraft as a whole and the desire to employ it for purposes other than dogfighting were other factors contributing to the wide variety of supermarine marks. Unique aircraft like Supermarine Spitfire would be produced in response to the growing demand for new duties like photographic reconnaissance, folding variants for employment on aircraft carriers or escort fighters. Spitfire would crash. With 24 variations, more than 20,400 aircrafts have been constructed. Supermarine Spitfires were last delivered in June of 1949. Later, a square tip would take the place of a single elliptical wing to improve the fighter's mobility. Either 8 Browning machine guns or 2 Spanish cannons with 4 MGS were mounted on top of the A and Type B wings. The C-type wing was the all-purpose model with the ability to transport 250 pounds of bombs. In addition, the D-type wing was utilized on reconnaissance models, which deleted the armament in order to extend the range by storing more fuel. The introduction of more potent Merlin engines was one of the key changes between the marks. The V Mark, for instance, which had an upgraded Merlin 45 or 50 series inline piston engine and was extensively deployed during the Dieppe raid, the D-Day landings, and the Soviet defense operations in 1943, is one such instance. The Mark 6, which had longer wings for high interception altitude and a pressurized cabin to combat high-altitude enemy aircraft, was later developed. Design modifications were made with the Mark 14, which had a bubble canopy, an expanded tail fin, and an extended fuselage. And the Mark 16 was a ground attack aircraft specifically designed afterwards. They were employed in the liberation of France as a part of the Operation Market Garden in late 1944. The latest Spitfire Marks, Mark 21 through Mark 24, were powered by potent Rolls-Royce Griffon 61, 64 and 85 engines, each of which produced over 2,400 horsepower. In the end, the Spitfire proved itself in the battle against persistent enemy fighters, earning its proper position in the Hall of Fame among the most influential aircrafts of all time. This was all about the Spitfire. You can tell us your thoughts about this aircraft in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. If you learned something from it, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below which plane we should discuss next. This was your Captain Ronald speaking, and I'm out. So this video was all about the British fighter aircraft Germans were afraid of, the Supermarine Spitfire. If you want to watch a similar video about other interesting planes, click on this video.